You eat fish for your heart. But what if that very healthy bite of fish quietly pushes your blood pressure up tonight, stiffens your arteries, and raises your risk of stroke by tomorrow morning? Not all fish are created equal. Some large fish carry high levels of mercury. Smoked or processed fish hide excess salt. Industrial oils destroy the good omega-3s, and farmed fish can contain leftover pollutants. The result? Thicker blood, damaged vessel lining, and brief episodes where your brain doesn't get enough blood. In the next few minutes, I'll point out 12 common traps and show you safe, heart-smart choices so you can truly protect both your heart and your brain, helping you live healthy, happy, and long. Starting with your dinner tonight, let's begin. When I was younger, I also believed that as long as you eat fish, it's good for your heart. Many of my patients still believe that today, but medicine and life have taught me something simple. The same word fish can sometimes be a life raft, and other times a stone tied to your blood vessels. Have you ever had a dinner that felt perfectly healthy, yet the next morning your blood pressure monitor crept up for no reason? Picture this, a beautiful looking piece of fish, but its hidden story carries what your eyes can't see. Mercury, hidden salt, and pollutants that have traveled a long way through the food chain, fish farms, and smokehouses. Top-of-the-chain species like swordfish, king mackerel, and tilefish can build up mercury, silently thickening your blood, raising pressure, and disrupting your heartbeat. Farmed fish from industrial systems often have too much omega-6 and traces of PCBs, dioxins, and antibiotics, all of which inflame blood vessel linings. And how you cook matters. Smoking, frying, or salty canned fish can spike sodium and oxidize oils, wiping out the benefits of omega-3s. So it's not just about eating fish, it's about choosing the right kind, the right label, and the right way to cook it. If what I've shared makes you see your dinner differently tonight, hit like to support the message. Eat smart to live long and live well. Tap subscribe and the bell so you don't miss my next videos, where I'll show you which fish to pick, how to cook to preserve omega-3s, and easy heart protective meal plans for people over 50. Thank you for being here. Let's protect your heart, one meal at a time. Do this with me right now. Here's the first of 12 common traps, ranked from most dangerous downward. 1. Tilefish from the Gulf of Mexico, extremely high in mercury, increases oxidative stress, stiffens arteries, and triggers irregular heartbeat. Better choices, sardines, anchovies, or wild trout. Now I want you to picture this. Dinner by the ocean, warm breeze, a thick fillet on your plate, golden with butter and lemon. The waiter smiles. Tilefish, fresh from the Gulf of Mexico. Sounds elegant, right? But sometimes the dishes that sound the most exclusive carry what our eyes can't see. Years of mercury buildup from a fish high up in the food chain. Mercury works like fine sand slipping into the bearings of your blood vessels. It doesn't scream, it just grinds quietly. Over time, oxidative stress builds, arteries stiffen, and your heartbeat starts to skip half a breath off rhythm. One of my patients, Mr. Martin, 71, loved tilefish. Lean, few bones, eats like steak, he said. He walked every morning, checked his blood pressure regularly. Then one day the reading started to jump. Good one day, bad the next, with short, dizzy spells, like the lights flickering for a second. When we traced his habits, a small pin landed on his weekend dinners. Tilefish, every Saturday. We switched it out, waited a few months, and something beautiful happened. His numbers steadied, his mind felt clearer, his sleep calmer. No miracle, just biology speaking in its patient language. Have you ever felt like that? Doing almost everything right, yet your body still sends strange signals? In your 50s and 60s, your body tells the truth. You just have to tune in to the right frequency. And with tilefish, that frequency says, stay away. Instead, choose small, short-lived fish rich in omega-3 and low in mercury. Sardines, anchovies, or wild trout. They may look humble on the plate, but they're kind to your arteries. If you crave that steak-like depth of flavor, grill a trout with olive oil and lemon zest. The taste stays bold, but the risk stays behind. In the end, eating is a quiet conversation with your future self. Don't let a fancy name, tilefish, speak for your health. Let your heart and brain make the choice that's truly kind. 2. Swordfish, top of the Mercury chart, significantly raises the risk of stroke and heart events in older adults. Better choices, Pacific halibut, mahi-mahi, occasionally. Now imagine this. A warm evening at your favorite restaurant, a thick white fillet resting on a pool of lemon butter. The waiter smiles. Tonight's swordfish is especially fresh. It sounds elegant, clean, strong, powerful, just like its name. But in medicine, beautiful names sometimes hide difficult stories. Swordfish sit high on the food chain. They live long, eat a lot, and quietly accumulate methylmercury, a heavy metal that crosses the blood-brain barrier, lodges in tissues, and roughens blood vessel walls like sandpaper. The result? Blood pressure creeps up, heart rhythm slips, and sometimes blood flow to the brain falters for just a second. Have you ever heard an older relative say, "I just got a little dizzy, must be my age," or "My memory's a bit fuzzy lately"? It's not always just age. One of my patients, Mr. Henry, 70, loved swordfish steaks. Lean, meaty, no bones, he said. He even replaced red meat with it twice a week, thinking he was doing everything right. 6 months later, his readings started to drift. 142 one day, 156 the next. Sometimes he felt a brief wave, like the floor shifting beneath him. We reviewed his habits, ran some tests, and decided to cut swordfish out. He switched to Pacific halibut grilled over medium heat, and occasionally mahi-mahi when he missed that steak feel. No miracle followed, just biology, steady and patient. After a few months, his pulse evened out, dizziness faded, and his sleep grew calmer. I'm not telling you to fear seafood. I'm inviting you to see it differently. Instead of chasing power on the plate, choose kindness for your arteries. When you crave that firm, meaty texture, Pacific halibut gives it to you, with far less mercury. Mahi-mahi can still have a place, but think of it as an occasional guest, not a weekly regular. At 50 or 60, what we truly crave isn't just flavor in a moment. It's the smooth flow of the years ahead. A steady heart, a sharp mind, a hand still strong enough to hold the one you love. And sometimes that future begins with one simple act, looking down at your plate and choosing wisely. 3. King mackerel. Very high in mercury, can cause dizziness and balance problems in adults over 60. Better choices, Atlantic or Spanish mackerel, smaller species, eaten in moderation. Now picture this, a bright morning market, rows of fresh seafood glistening on ice. The vendor lifts a thick, glossy fillet, its marbled fat shining like polished wood grain. King mackerel, royal fish, thick meat, amazing on the grill, he says with pride. The name alone, king, makes it sound powerful, even healthy. But in medicine, a crown can sometimes hide a burden. Mercury. King mackerel are large, long-lived predators. Over the years, methylmercury quietly builds up inside them, like fine dust settling in every corner of your body. It sneaks into blood vessel walls, making circulation less fluid. And in people over 60, it speaks in a language you don't want to hear. Brief, dizzy spells, a floating sensation as if the floor tilts slightly, moments when memory skips a beat. Have you ever felt that and just told yourself, it's probably just age? One of my patients, Evelyn, 68, had switched from red meat to fish to live healthier. Twice a week, she bought king mackerel, pan-seared in butter and pepper until golden. 3 months later, her blood pressure swung like the tide. Sometimes she stopped mid-walk, clutching a railing as the world spun. We reviewed her habits and explained that royal mackerel carries not just a crown, but a load of mercury. She switched to Atlantic and Spanish mackerel, smaller, shorter-lived, lower in mercury, and ate them in moderation, grilled gently, with a squeeze of lemon and a drizzle of olive oil. Within weeks, her dizzy spells faded. Within months, her blood pressure steadied and her sleep grew peaceful. I'm not asking you to give up the taste of the sea. I'm inviting you to trade that heavy crown for a light straw hat. With mackerel, what matters isn't royalty, it's wisdom. Choose the humble siblings, Atlantic or Spanish mackerel, and pair them with moderation. At 50 or 60, we're no longer chasing thrills of flavor. We're tending to rhythm, the rhythm of our steps, our thoughts, our mornings that start without a spin. Sometimes that piece begins right there on tonight's plate, with one small, kind choice for your blood vessels in your brain. 4. Large ocean tuna, big eye, bluefin, sashimi, or steak cuts. High in mercury, often mistaken as heart-healthy. Better choices, skipjack or light tuna, smaller packed in water. Rotate with sardines or trout. Now imagine this, a bright sushi counter, a slice of deep red tuna gleaming on warm rice. The chef leans forward and says softly, "Bluefin's beautiful today, doctor." It sounds elegant, safe even. It's tuna, right? Everyone says it's good for the heart. But experience in clinical practice teaches me something different. Not every tuna is a shield for your arteries, especially the ocean giants, bluefin and big eye. These fish live long, travel far, and eat a lot, accumulating an invisible luggage called methylmercury. At age 50 or 60, your body clears that luggage much slower. It quietly irritates the lining of your blood vessels, nudges your blood pressure upward, and blurs your focus just enough for your memory to stumble for half a beat. One of my patients, Daniel, 71, loves sashimi. He gave up red meat, convinced that fish is healthier. Every weekend, bluefin steaks or a few slices of sashimi for the heart. 3 months later, the numbers started talking back. His blood pressure edged up, and sometimes he said it felt like a thin fog settled across his forehead. We sat down and faced the familiar myth together. Fish doesn't always mean safe, and big, expensive doesn't always mean good for your arteries. He switched to skipjack tuna, the smaller, light kind, packed in water, watching the sodium on the label, and rotated it with sardines and pan-seared trout. Within weeks, the fog lifted. Within months, his blood pressure found its rhythm again. Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right? Walking, sleeping early, eating fish, yet your body still whispers small warnings? That's when we fine-tune, not with fear, but with understanding. If you love that rich ocean flavor, let skipjack tuna be your weekday ally. Open a can packed in water, squeeze lemon, and mix it with chickpeas and leafy greens. When you crave something warm, a piece of trout grilled with lemon zest gives you that firm, satisfying texture, without burdening your arteries. Eating, in the end, is a quiet conversation with your own future. Today we choose the smaller fish, the light label, the lower sodium, so that tomorrow our steps are steadier, our mind clearer, and our heart still soft enough for the people we love. Sabotage. Smoked fish, salmon, trout, herring, very high in sodium. Nitrites can raise blood pressure overnight. Better choice, fresh grilled or steamed fish. If you crave the smoky flavor, use smoked paprika. Now picture this, a quiet morning. You slip on a sweater, make a cup of tea, slice a bagel, and lay down a few silky pink ribbons of smoked salmon. Light, elegant, healthy, right? Lunch is soup, dinner is toast with the leftovers. Everything seems in order, until the next morning when the blood pressure monitor flashes a higher number than usual. Have you ever had that kind of night, perfectly normal, followed by a morning that wasn't? In my clinic, I met Margaret, 69, from New York. She loved that smoky flavor. "Doctor, it's so much lighter than deli meat," she said. What she didn't realize was that to get that smoke in shelf life, smoked fish carries some heavy baggage, salt. A small serving can packed nearly half your day's sodium limit. Salt is like a silent tide. It pulls water into your bloodstream, stretches vessel walls, and lifts blood pressure, sometimes within hours. On top of that, smoking produces PAH and often includes nitrites. Names that sound chemical and distant, yet quietly spark inflammation, washing away omega-3's heart benefits like words written in sand meeting the tide. When Margaret and I reviewed her meals, we didn't erase her food memories, we just rewrote them. She switched to fresh fish, grilled or steamed, keeping the good fats, losing the sodium load. When she missed that smoky note, she sprinkled a bit of smoked paprika, sometimes a drop or two of high-quality liquid smoke, just enough for the aroma to knock on nostalgia's door without building a wall of salt. A few weeks later, her numbers softened. Her sleep deepened. Mornings turned calm again. I'm not telling you to say goodbye to smoked fish forever. I'm inviting you to ask one simple question every time you open the fridge. Is this kind to my blood vessels? At 50 or 60, health is like the light on a dinner table. It doesn't have to be bright, just clear. And sometimes that clarity begins with a gentle choice. Let the smoke stay, but let the salt go. 6. Fried fish, fish and chips, fish sticks, trans fats, oxidized oils, batter and salt, raise LDL, lower HDL, and inflame arteries. Better choice, bake or pan-sear. Coat with oats or almonds for a clean, crisp crust. Think about that smell. Golden, crispy, a hint of salt kissing your tongue. Maybe a plate of fish and chips at your favorite diner, or a few fish sticks pulled from the freezer for a quick dinner. It's still fish, healthier than meat, right? I hear that all the time. Then the next morning, the blood pressure monitor creeps up. The ankles puff slightly, the head feels heavy, like carrying a small cloud. Ever found yourself in that loop? One of my patients, Bill, 72, had a Friday ritual. Fried fish as a healthy celebration. "Doc, I gave up burgers and switched to fish," he said proudly. We looked at the same fillet and saw two stories. At high frying temperatures, omega-3s, the very reason we choose fish, get destroyed. Reused frying oil oxidizes, creating tiny sharp molecules that jab at artery walls. The batter, full of salt and refined starch, acts like a heavy coat. It pushes LDL up, HDL down, and invites silent inflammation. That crunchy joy lasts minutes. The vascular inflammation lingers for months. After 3 months, Bill's numbers told the story. No drama, just biology doing its quiet math. I'm not here to take away joy. I'm here to reframe it. Instead of dunking fish in oil, lay it on a baking tray, brush with a whisper of olive oil, and coat with crushed oats or almond flour mixed with pepper and lemon zest. The crisp stays, but this time, it's a kind crisp, not one that trades heart health for crunch. Pan searing works too. Medium heat, flip once, keep the center moist. You'll hear that gentle sizzle, the sound of the sea whispering, not the oil screaming. Another patient, Susan, 70, tried this new crisp every weekend. 6 weeks later, she told me, "My legs feel lighter when I walk, and mornings are clearer." No miracle, just her blood vessels finally exhaling. At 50 or 60, we start choosing joys that last longer. Fish can still be your friend, as long as you treat it gently, with moderate heat and an oat or almond crust. Crispy still tastes good. Your heart will thank you. And tomorrow morning, when your feet touch the floor, they'll say thank you on your heart's behalf. 7. Canned tuna, especially albacore, white, packed in oil or salted. Moderate to high mercury, plus sodium buildup over time. Safer choice, light skipjack tuna, packed in water, no salt added, limit to once every 2 weeks. Picture this, it's a busy noon. You open the pantry, grab a can of tuna, quick, easy, and heart healthy, you think. A spoonful of mayo, a few pickle slices, sandwich it between bread, tidy, efficient, and seemingly smart. But our bodies, especially after 50, keep long memories. They record every grain of salt, every trace of mercury passing through the bloodstream like a quiet librarian. And one day, that record opens. Blood pressure creeps up, your head buzzes, memory skips a beat. Ever felt that? Eating healthy, but feeling off anyway? One of my patients, George, 70, gave up red meat and turned to canned tuna daily. "For my heart," he said. 3 months later, his numbers told a different story. Blood pressure up, sodium intake higher than expected, and blood mercury quietly climbing. We didn't blame the can, we just rewrote the script. He switched to light tuna, that's skipjack, a smaller species with less mercury, packed in water, labeled no salt added. And tuna became a guest, not a resident, no more than once every 2 weeks. When he ate it, he mixed it with low-fat Greek yogurt, lemon juice, and chopped celery. served over whole grain bread or a bowl of leafy greens. Weeks later, his blood pressure softened. Months later, his mind felt clear again. Like someone cleaned the window, he told me. From a medical standpoint, the logic is simple. Mercury builds up over time, especially from large, long-lived fish. Sodium from canned goods doesn't shout. It whispers, pulling water into vessels, stretching arterial walls. When you trade albacore in oil and salt for skipjack in water, no salt, you're lightening two loads at once. Mercury and sodium. And if you miss that rich flavor, let real olive oil speak for it, not the cheap industrial oil in the can. Eating well isn't a speed contest. It's a quiet daily conversation with your heart and your brain. Choose the smaller can, the lighter label, and the slower rhythm. So tomorrow you wake up clearer, steadier, and with memories that still sit gently beside you. 8. Farmed salmon, Atlantic. PCBs, dioxins, and excess omega-6 can irritate vessel linings if eaten often. Better choice, wild Alaskan, sockeye, or coho. 1 to 2 meals a week is plenty. I want you to picture this. A beautiful tray of salmon, rosy, marbled silky, with a bright Atlantic label and a discount sticker. You think perfect, heart-healthy dinner tonight. A little olive oil, some lemon, a sprinkle of dill. I understand that moment. I once believed that as long as it's salmon, it must be good for you. But clinical experience taught me something slower and clearer. Not every salmon swims in cold, clean waters. Some grow in crowded pens, eating food the ocean never made. Farmed salmon, especially Atlantic, often carries invisible baggage. PCBs, dioxins, and far more omega-6 than omega-3. The names sound technical, but their effects are painfully human. The delicate lining of your arteries becomes inflamed. Like velvet scraped against wire, silent inflammation rises. And those heart-healthy promises fade over time. Have you ever followed every rule? Salads, salmon, olive oil. Yet your CRP or blood pressure still refuses to behave. I've seen that story too many times. One of my patients, Richard, 67, proudly ate salmon 3 times a week, just to be safe. But most of it was Atlantic, sometimes even labeled color added. The pink hue not from wild carotenoids, but from feed dyes. 6 months later, his inflammation markers climbed, and the foggy heaviness in his head returned. We made a small change. Switched to wild Alaskan sockeye or coho once or twice a week, baked or steamed gently, keeping its natural oils, no salt. A few months later, his numbers eased, and so did his mornings. I'm not asking you to give up salmon. I'm inviting you to choose the right waters. Wild Alaskan is like a breath of northern sea air. Lighter, cleaner, more honest. And after 50, we don't need more. We need better. 1 or 2 mindful meals a week, alongside greens and whole grains. The rest of the time, let your heart rest and be grateful. Because sometimes the difference between good and truly good is just the source, and a touch of restraint. 1. Atlantic cod, often farmed or near shore. Breaded processed versions carry trace heavy metals and high sodium. Better choice, Pacific cod, Alaska or haddock. Buy fresh fillets, unbreaded. Picture this, a bright freezer aisle at the supermarket, rows of cod fillets neatly stacked, dusted with a fine white coating. The corner of the bag reading, Atlantic. The price is good, it cooks fast, and it sounds healthy. It's cod after all. You toss it into your air fryer or skillet. The aroma fills the kitchen. Dinner done. Have you ever done that and thought, I'm eating heart-healthy tonight? In my clinic, I met Mr. Peterson, 70, kind, tidy, and disciplined. He had given up red meat and switched almost entirely to cod. Quick, lean, low-fat. Yet his blood pressure still climbed, and his chronic inflammation numbers refused to calm down. We opened his freezer together, and the story became clearer. Most of his cod was Atlantic, breaded and pre-seasoned, with more salt than expected. Cod raised or caught in coastal waters can also carry small but steady traces of heavy metals and pollutants. And that breading, it traps salt and refines starch like a heavy coat on the arteries. turning a healthy fish into a meal that quietly strains the very heart it was meant to protect. We didn't give up cod, we just changed the source. Mr. Peterson switched to Pacific cod from Alaska or haddock, buying fresh or plain frozen fillets, letting the fish speak for itself with its natural sweetness instead of the noise of salt. He baked it gently with a brush of olive oil, a little lemon zest, and pepper. Served with leafy greens and whole grains. A few weeks later, his blood pressure began to settle. A few months later, his mornings felt lighter and his sleep deeper. No miracle, just blood vessels being treated kindly again. Have you ever felt like you were eating healthy, yet your body stayed tired? Maybe the problem isn't the fish, it's the source and the coating. Breaded Atlantic cod feels safe because it's convenient, but it quietly burdens the arteries. Pacific cod and haddock remind us that true health rarely shouts. It's clean, modest, and often starts with reading the fine print on a label. At 50 or 60, that's how we choose peace. Beginning with tonight's plate. 10. Farmed catfish, Pangasius bassa. High in omega-6, possible pond residues and often fried. A double risk. Better choice, wild trout or sardines. If you do eat catfish, bake or steam it and pair with potassium-rich vegetables. Picture this, a southern weekend afternoon. The kitchen smells like cornmeal. The oil crackles cheerfully, and golden pieces of catfish rise from the pan like little memories of childhood. It's fish, surely healthier than fried chicken, right? One of my patients, Larry, 72, believed that for years, until the numbers began to tell a different story. His blood pressure rose and fell like the tide, and some days his legs felt heavy as stone. We traced our way back to his plate, farmed catfish, Pangasius bassa, raised fast in shallow ponds, fed a diet no wild river would ever serve. The balance tipped, omega-6 up, omega-3 down, and the water left quiet residues behind. Then came the frying, hot oil destroying the few healthy fats that remained, the batter trapping salt inside. Risk doubled, like strapping extra weights to your arteries. Have you ever felt that way, thinking you made a healthy choice, yet your blood pressure monitor still flashes high the next morning? Clinically, the story is simple. When fats skew heavily toward omega-6, the vessel lining feels like velvet rubbed the wrong way. When oil burns over and over, it leaves behind tiny, spiky molecules that jab at your arteries. No need for fear, just a new direction. I invited Larry to try wild trout baked or grilled, a squeeze of lemon, a sprinkle of dill, to alternate with sardines, small, short-lived fish rich in omega-3, kind to blood pressure. And when the craving for catfish came, he chose fresh fillets, baked or steamed, served with broccoli, leafy greens, or roasted potatoes. Foods rich in potassium that gently ease the tension inside the vessels. I don't come to take away the joy of food. I come to bring back peace in the morning walk, in the night's sleep. And if you're a person of faith, maybe you'll agree. This body is a gift, a temple to be cared for. We don't need perfection, just honesty and small daily choices. Today, trade the frying pan for a baking tray, the sizzling oil for gentle heat, the crispy fried catfish for wild trout or humble sardines. That's not just dinner. It's a quiet prayer for your heart, your memory, and the life still unfolding within you. 11. Tilapia. Skewed omega-6, omega-3 ratio, inflammatory. Almost always farm-raised. Better choices. Wild pollock, haddock, cod, trout, or wild salmon. Picture this. A busy evening, you stop by the grocery store and spot those clean white tilapia fillets. Cheap, mild, cooks fast. It's fish oil, you think. Low fat, good for the heart. That single sentence has brought many people into my clinic. But after 50, the body remembers. Not just calories, but the quality of the fats and where they come from. Tilapia, almost always farmed in shallow ponds, grows fast on feed that no wild stream would ever offer. The result? A lopsided fat profile. Omega-6 up, omega-3 down. It sounds academic, but the effect is real. Your artery lining becomes irritated. Quiet inflammation whispers through the system like a draft under the door, cooling the warmth of health little by little. One of my patients, Linda, 72, said she'd been eating healthy for years. Tilapia 3 or 4 times a week, grilled, pan-seared, tossed in salad, yet her inflammation markers crept up and her blood pressure rippled with small waves. "What did I do wrong?" she asked. I told her, "You didn't do wrong, you just need a gentler current for your arteries." We swapped tilapia for humbler, cleaner swimmers, pollock, haddock, or wild cod, smaller fish from colder, purer waters. Every so often, she'd switch it up with pan-seared trout or a piece of wild salmon baked to perfection with lemon zest on top. A few weeks later, she told me, "My mornings feel lighter, and so does my heart." No miracle, just the right fats back in balance. Have you ever felt that way, trying your best, yet your body still sends mixed signals? Don't blame yourself. Let tonight's plate do the talking. If tilapia's on the counter, save it for rare occasions. Let pollock or haddock take the weekday shift. Let trout or wild salmon be your weekend guest. Eating well isn't a punishment. It's a quiet conversation with your future self. When you choose a fish from clean waters with the right balance of omega-3s, you're not just feeding dinner. You're feeding the long, peaceful health of your heart and mind. 12. Canned sardines in oil or salt. Sardines themselves are wonderful, but when packed in vegetable oil and heavy salt, they can quietly raise your blood pressure. Safer choice, packed in water or extra virgin olive oil, EVOO. No salt added label. You can even rinse them quickly under cold water before eating. Now imagine this. It's a busy afternoon. You open the cupboard, grab a can of sardines and think, quick, easy, full of omega-3s, perfect for my heart. You pop the lid, that rich, savory smell rises up. You sprinkle a bit of salt and pepper, maybe spread it on some crackers. Sounds perfect, right? But the body after 50 keeps long memories. It notes every grain of salt and every drop of oil that runs through your vessels, like a quiet librarian recording without a word. And the next morning, your blood pressure monitor tells a different story. Have you ever seen those numbers climb and wondered why? One of my patients, Doris, age 76, loves sardines the way some people love a good ritual. 3 times a week, sardines in oil, creamy and rich, spread on salted crackers. Her blood pressure, once stable, began to ripple like small waves. Her legs felt heavier by evening. We didn't blame the sardines because they're one of the ocean's kindest creatures. Small, short-lived, rich in omega-3s, and almost mercury-free. The problem was the coat the can put on them. Refined vegetable oil and salt. That oil tips the omega-6, omega-3 balance the wrong way, dulling the fish's benefits. The salt pulls water into your blood vessels, tightening them like overfilled pipes. What began as heart healthy turned quietly harmful. We adjusted the habit, not with fear but with gentler choices. Doris switched to sardines packed in water or extra virgin olive oil, always no salt added. Before eating, she poured them through a strainer and gave them a quick rinse in cold water to wash away excess salt. Instead of crackers, she tossed them with cherry tomatoes, celery, a squeeze of lemon, and black pepper, served over leafy greens or on whole grain bread. Weeks later, her blood pressure eased. Months later, her morning walks felt light again, like early summer air. My view is simple. Sardines are your friends as long as you choose the right can and the right meal. Don't let cheap oil and extra salt ruin the ocean's little gift. At 50, 60, what your heart needs isn't more. It's better. The right label, the right preparation, the right restraint. When you do that, each can of sardines returns to what it was meant to be. Small, humble, and deeply kind to your heart. Closing, as we wrap up today's journey, I want you to take a deep breath and look at the plate before you as if you're looking into your own future. After 50, what we need isn't loud promises, but a few simple, consistent, kind habits. I call them the golden rules. First, make room for the small, short-lived fish. Sardines, anchovies, trout, wild Alaskan salmon. They're humble, yet rich in omega-3s and low in mercury. Just 1 to 3 servings a week is enough to keep your heart steady and your mind clear. No need to overdo it. Second, give me 5 seconds to read the label before it goes in your cart. Look for the quiet but powerful words: wild caught, no salt added, packed in water or extra virgin olive oil. Avoid breaded, avoid color added. Those 5 seconds can save you months of medication and worry. Third, let gentle heat do the magic. Grill, steam, or lightly pan-sear. These keep your omega-3s intact without building walls of salt or oxidized oil. Go easy on smoking and deep frying. The flavor stays, the burden fades. And if, over the years, you've loved the giants of the sea, swordfish, king mackerel, bluefin tuna, be honest with your body. A simple mercury test, blood or hair, is a kind way to check on your arteries. Medicine doesn't judge, it just shines a light so you can choose better. There will be days when you don't feel like eating fish, and that's fine. Switch to other gentle protein sources. 1 egg a day, or up to 7 a week, is safe for most people. If your cholesterol runs high, keep it to 4 to 7 yolks weekly, and add plenty of veggies and whole grains. Greek yogurt, skyr, or cottage cheese. Light proteins that help blood pressure. Beans, soy, tofu, tempeh. Protein plus fiber, keeping your vessel smooth like a freshly paved road. Prefer lean meat? Go for skinless chicken breast or turkey, or seafood like shrimp, scallops, or oysters. Just rinse, cook simply, and stay light on the salt. If you're busy, a high-quality whey protein shake on workout days can bridge the gap. Have you ever felt like you've been trying so hard but the numbers on the monitor still refuse to budge? Don't lose heart. Health, like faith, is built from small, repeated choices every single day. Today you choose small fish over big ones, clean labels over flashy ads, gentle heat over sizzling oil. Tomorrow your steps feel lighter, your mind clearer, your sleep deeper. Those little things add up to years of independence and peace. If this video helped you see fish in their true light, to prevent stroke and live longer, stronger, and freer, hit subscribe and the bell icon so you won't miss the next part. The 5 best fish after age 60. Share it with your loved ones, because one right meal can add many healthy years together. Thank you for spending this time with me. May God keep you and those you love safe, with strong hearts, clear minds, and homes filled with laughter. See you in the next video.